Hello, everybody, and welcome to Arcade 92 in historic downtown McKinney. And I am super excited to talk about Smash TV. Smash TV has been on my most wanted list for a long, long time, and I finally found one. Not only did I find one, but I found one in good condition, and ready to rock, ready to play. It was fantastically renovated, so I'm so excited to have that here on location at our McKinney location. And even more exciting is we actually have one now as well in our Flower Mound location. So the game I couldn't find for half a decade, I now have two of. So really excited to have this game. We're super pumped to have Smash TV. But more importantly, I kind of want to share the story of a Smash TV with you guys as well. Part of what makes it such a great game. So this game was released in 1990 by Williams. And Williams is known as for great classics like Joust, like Moon Patrol, Defender. Williams has a long list of really great games that we remember from the 80s, and this was their contribution to the 90s, be it 1990. Just before this game, they had released Narc in 1988, which we also have at our Flower Mound location right now as well. So what was so unique about these games is they were really ahead of their time. And what I mean that time is an era where the goal of video games was to push to be as hyper violent as possible, to really test the limits on how violent video games could be. And that kind of came to a head with Mortal Kombat in 1992, a couple years after this one. So Smash TV and Narc were kind of the early adopters to figuring out, how do we go from the cute, adorable Frogger or, Pac-Man or, shooting bugs in Galaga. How do we go to blood and guts being scattered all over the place? So this game really kind of ushered in that era of hyperviolence, which you could look to be a good thing or a bad thing. But it really kind of changed so much. Even with Mortal Kombat 2, the violence had got so much that it caught the attention of the U.S. Congress to where they eventually developed the ESRB rating. So when you go buy a video game today, whether it be like a hard copy or online, it's going to have a little rating on it, just like movies have, like with PG or R, PG-13, whichever. So now there's like E for everyone or MA, kind of an age rating that crossed over to video games as well. So more about Smash TV. So where this idea came from to really push the limits of violence is the 80s movies. If you really look at the 80s movies, they were doing the same thing. So this game specifically has heavy influence by the movie The Running Man from the late 80s, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you haven't seen the movie, it is an absolute must-see, a fantastic dystopian movie. Where it was actually set in 1999, so that's interesting. But totally dystopian world where just no regard for human life, just ultra violence. Where you see these main characters are in a game show, and the game show is to kill or be killed, basically. And that has a lot to do with the movie Running Man. So also that time period, this game takes a direct influence from the movie RoboCop. Again, hyper violent. These are the movies we grew up on. Our bedtime stories were told by tales from the crypt, right? There's a line in the movie where, as you're just blasting everything, there's blood and guts flying all over the place. They'll say the host of the show says total carnage, or another big line that he says is I'll buy that for $1, and that's a direct reference to RoboCop. So really neat to kind of see that tie-in. But if you watch the Running Man movie, if you play this game, you'll see the influence that this game had. So on that note, again, this was produced by Williams. And the creator of this game is the same creator who gave us Robotron 2084. So same idea, just this dystopian future in the year 2084 where the robots had all taken over. It's essentially like, the movie Terminator, which again, Terminator is 80s and 90s as well with Terminator 2 and even more modern movies. But 2084 was developed the same way. It has this unique where there's not a fire button. It's two players, so player one, player two. And this is your movement joystick, and this is how you shoot. So there's not an actual fire button, so you're controlling the way that you move and then controlling the way that you shoot. It's the exact same way that Robotron 2084 was developed. So a very unique design in that, when everything had buttons to shoot. But again, this is made by Williams. Now Williams, this is kind of at a tipping point for them. So they have a long history of great games, again, like Joust, Bubbles, Moon Patrol, Defender, a long list of games. They were just super prominent in the 80s, and they had also made pinball machines. In the 90s, in the mid-90s, they started shifting over to do not exclusively pinball machines, but really this game, Smash TV, and the one after this was called Total Carnage, was kind of the last great game that Williams was going to make. They went on to make others, including like Defender 2000, but nothing stood up to the significance. So you can really look at the Smash TV as probably their Williams' last great arcade game, and that may have just freaked some of you guys out, but it's okay. They did come out with Total Carnage 2 years later, but really the games are extremely similar. Total Carnage is kind of just built on Smash TV. So even if you want to say that, 1992 with Total Carnage, that was kind of their last real big title. But one cool thing is Williams was technically involved with Mortal Kombat 3, and how that kind of ties together is when this game was being developed, I believe his name was Eugene Jarvis, is the developer of this game, who's the same one that did Robotron. He brought in John Sibut. John Tobias. You'll understand why I just messed that up here in just a moment. So John Tobias. So he brought him in. So if you may or may not recognize that name, John Tobias was the one of the very influential co-creators of Mortal Kombat, and he, along with Ed Boon. So later in the Mortal Kombat series, you have a character develop. His name is Noob Saibot, which is the reverse spelling of the last names of Ed Boon and John Tobias. So anyways, they brought him in. So it's really this game that kind of ushered in the hyper-violence that gave Tobias kind of the green light to push that level of violence even further into Mortal Kombat. And then again, Williams would eventually get tied in to Mortal Kombat 3 eventually. I don't want to say that they were fizzling out, because what really happened with Williams is they, in the early 90s, they started shifting into pinball machines. They had always done pinball machines. They just were doing arcade as well, but they started shifting their main focus into pinball machines. And they created the Addams Family and Twilight Zone. And Addams Family, even by today's standards, is considered to be one of the 10 best pinball machines of all time. And Twilight Zone is high up there as well. One of my favorite games is Terminator 2 pinball machine. So they had made phenomenal pinball machines. But by the end of the 90s, as the arcades kind of fizzled out, and pinball machines became less and less popular, they shifted to be more like gambling machines, like slot machines, and that's where they are today. So they're still around. They were bought out by a company in 2016, but they're still making games. Be it slot machines and such. But we'll see. I mean, they kind of got out of pinball because it was slowly reducing in popularity. But just a few years after they got out, in 2000, pinball started just surging right back again. So, and now pinball is has incredible exponential growth to it, with more and more pinball companies. So maybe we'll see the newest company version of Williams get back into the pinball machine world again, because they were some heavy hitters all through the 80s and 90s. So they made some very impressive games. So anyway, so that's kind of more of the story on Williams, kind of tying in the Smash TV, tying in the Mortal Kombat series. But more importantly, like, the history of this game is really, alongside with Narc, ushering in this era of pushing the limits of violence in video games, which, of course, as a 90s kid, we all got to enjoy. Again, it's a long way past, Pac-Man and Galaga, Moon Patrol, Asteroids, right? Now you're just killing people by the hundreds, if not thousands, and the more people you kill, you win game show things like a new car or a toaster, and you try to grab as much cash as you can. I mean, it is a fantastic game. It's weird as all get out, but that makes it even better. So anyways, come on over to Arcade 92. We've got one here in McKinney. We've also got one at our Flower Mound location. It's $12 per person here in McKinney, $12.99 over in Flower Mound. Flower Mound's a bigger location. And play Smash TV, because it's time to play again. It is a fantastic game, and I know you're going to love it.